We're back.
Cheers. Hopefully that wasn't too loud.
We made it.
We did.
Take a look at our new set.
We are here in the flesh
Mm-hmm.
at our new satellite location.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is actually my mom's shop.
It's so cool to be here.
Yeah.
The fact that your mom's shop is like completely on brand
is crazy.
So you can't see it, but she has a purple couch across the way, which you will see at some point. But today we're going with the green chairs.
No, it's crazy. It's literally like things could not have been more perfect.
Yeah.
For our brand and like just us needing a space, because obviously you guys know that last time we were on Lauren's couch, which was so
sure were. I had to kick out my whole family.
For me, it was
my daughter was hiding in her room, not allowed to make a sound. She interpreted that as not being able to eat or go to the bathroom. Poor thing. Shout out Mia, because I know she's listening. And shout out to your mom.
Yes.
For letting us use her space, which is actually her business.
Yes.
Which is super cool, because that's really going to be a focus of our conversation today, is on really bringing business ideas to life and the work we do, the impact we've seen with some of our clients. But I want to shout out Mama first. Yeah. She's doing some really cool stuff here.
She is. And she's been in business for like 13 years now. So she is part of the reason why I have the entrepreneur itch and started my own business. But it's Peels and Wheels Studio. It's on 40 Colvin Ave. In Albany. She's in Suite 100. If you want to get a wax, a facial, like they do all that stuff here. There's some amazing estheticians here. So if you are feeling like you want to try someone new or try something new, treat yourself. Peels and Wheels Studio, right in Colvin Ave.
That's awesome. And how cool to have that in the fam. Like you can come over here and get hooked up probably anytime.
Yes.
And so what's the background with the name Peels on Wheels? Did she start like not in a physical space and more mobile?
Yeah. So she started, like I said, about 13 years ago, and she started as like a mobile esthetician business. So she really like used to focus on bridal parties and like weddings and things like that. And so she would go to the actual facility places.
That's cool.
She even did home visits, for a while until she actually got a physical space, which was her first space was up on Western. And then she moved down here, actually 2020, which I know we'll have her on the episode, so we can talk more about her story. But she moved to her second location literally as soon as we shut down in 2020. So like she was close. She had just moved there, and then the whole world shut down. And then like so she had to kind of climb out of that. So it's a really cool story. And, she's got a lot of grit and she's got a lot of determination. So
man, grit is definitely a prereq. So you guys kind of have like the entrepreneurial spirit in the family line. Did she always want to have her own business? Is that something that's just, she's been doing it for 13 years. Did that just come to her one day that she just wanted to do it? Was it a personal passion?
I'll definitely let her speak for herself. But from what I've seen,
I'm just so curious, Mom.
From what I've seen, so she's been in like the beauty industry for like 35 plus years now.
Okay.
And she's always had, so I know she like went to Austin school and then she graduated, got her esthetician license. And then she worked for like Jean Paul, Kimberly's Day Spa, like lots of places growing up. And she's always had multiple jobs, multiple different incomes, but that has always been her solid. She's always loved making people feel good about themselves. She's always loved, just like the beauty industry. And, she's had a lot of many years in this industry. So.
Well, shout out to Mom.
Shout out to Mama.
So I'm so excited to be in the space, and we think we've figured out the mic situation. For now. I know we had some audio issue. We're working through it. Y'all are sticking with us. And today it's just more so like 2 girls, 1 mic.
2 girls, 1
Wait
mic
a minute.
all the way. 2 girls, 1 mic. That's what it is.
I somehow want to do all these weird things right now.
Oh, well, we're not in the business for that. So you're going to have to chill with it.
Ice cream cone. There's no soft serve.
The best you're getting is...
Not that I know what that is.
You've never watched 2 Girls?
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say.
Unhinged.
But you know what? I think that that was like the start of the market online.
Oh, it definitely opened up the market.
Wait, okay. Wait a minute. Wait, I have an actual question.
I can't laugh too hard because my eye. I don't want to pop
my fucking neck. By the way, this morning, I got rocked in the head.
One girl, one mic.
Honey, I love you. I know you're watching.
I know nothing about the story other than I need to
all right, so I'm
chill. We're recovering. Some newer than others.
You know what kills me?
Ding dong.
You know what kills me? The
thing when we start smacking each other when you laugh hard.
If you smack me,
I won't. No tortillas. No fucking tortillas. So, we want to do like a challenge or a segment or like a little funny something in every episode. I mean, beyond how funny we are. And I was like, why don't we do the tortilla challenge, which is where you have water in your mouth and you smack the other person with a tortilla, and the goal is to not spit the water out. And she was like, I think we might fight.
I'll be damned.
I was like,
if I am having someone voluntarily.
Next thing you know, Lauren's knocked out and her retina's detached. Fucking Officer Gina came back. Hey, so we're not doing that.
No, I don't think that's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
I will get very mad very quick.
We don't want that.
No, and then I will literally smack you.
So this is why I know you would knock me out. This is why I have to vet all my ideas through production.
How about we do it since I said that's not a good idea.
I'll do it with maybe my sister or my daughter. Probably Mia.
I said Mia.
Probably. But I did want to just let everybody know, because the last episode was all about what happened with my eye. And really quick, because a lot of people reached out to me, and thank you for that. I did get surgery. They fixed it. I'm recovering really well. My doctor said I'm healing really fast. So I'm back, glasses on, stitches in my eye. Can't laugh too hard. Already off to a great start. Anyway, recovering well, all good. I can see 2020 again.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're so freaking happy about that, because that was a whole ride.
It was a rough go.
Yeah.
But now I can see out of my left eye, so I don't have to be like,
but
what's going on, Gina?
The craziest part about that whole thing was that when Lauren and I both had the things going on with our left eye, we looked into it, and the left eye is actually connected to feminine energy. And when we were like looking back at what we've been doing and what we've always had to do in our lives, and like being in that either survival mindset or like always the go, go, go.
Right.
I think it was really just an opportunity for us to, the universe was like, slow the F down.
Truly.
Slow down.
Like,
and recognize and realize and
you don't really like realize how like stuck you can be in that. I think for me, it was always really tied to productivity and wanting to get stuff done and wanting to keep like all the balls in the air. And all of them. But with that, there's like this hyperdrive that can happen. And that is not a bad thing in and of itself. Like, we carry masculine and feminine energies. But I started to think about like how challenging it was, and still is for me at times, to be more gentle.
Yeah.
To be like more gentle with myself, with other people, even with our work. Like, now as brand doulas, which we're going to talk about in a minute, which talk about feminine energy. I mean, the birthing process in general, how we show up to be like shepherds of the work for people. Like, even though we're getting a lot done on paper, there is still this very like organic quality to what we're doing. And it's important for us as individuals and as women to kind of tune into our feminine side more, because intuition lives there. And we are basically going in and meeting with people and having like an intuitive experience and download on like their entire business. And it's pretty cool how that comes into play.
Yeah. I think it's just like a really cool experience, to be the person who's like doing it, and seeing how you and I just operate and kind of like go on this really, really nice like back and forth with, when I have an idea, you're there like processing and then thinking of the next thing and being like, okay, taking what I said and then amplifying it. And then same thing when you're going through kind of your zone on that, I'm over here thinking and processing and adding.
Yeah.
And we just really move very synergistically.
Yeah. That tracks.
That word?
Yeah, that tracks. Yeah.
Well, it is now.
Yep, it is now. But it's true, because I don't know about you, but I had never really experienced that type of like natural flow, particularly in the space of work. And I think a lot of this for me as well is redefining my relationship with the work. And that means the how of it. So
Absolutely.
you don't have to force. It doesn't have to be like, okay, if it's not 50 hours a week, it's not productive. And when we first got in the room together with a client, this was our first go at this, right? Where the magic of it kind of took over. And next thing you know, it was like Gina said, she's talking about something, I'm formulating this thing that's coming in that complements that. And then while I'm doing it, she's doing the same thing. And next thing you know, like we have a client that was like, I don't know what that just was, but that was like the most amazing thing I've ever experienced, let alone with work.
Yeah. And I think it's because we really have allowed ourselves to tune into the client's energy, but also like speaking from that intuitive side on like our end. Like, what are we seeing? How are we feeling? And then our energy just naturally goes back and forth off of each other.
Yeah.
So like we take that, amplify it, and then add in what we know about the client, what we see about their, brand, and then how we're able to perceive that vision. And we're able to just really put together this incredible package for them in like as we're talking. And it's kind of like creating this whole, like I think about it as like me as into Minecraft, right? And like I feel like what we do is kind of like building our own, like it's building a city or like the building as they're talking to us. We're like seeing the vision, because that's how I operate. I'm really great at like seeing things in my head. I can't see the actual, but it's like the thoughts and like kind of how it pictures and how it's supposed to be operating.
Yeah.
And then once we kind of get out of those meetings, we're like, okay, yep, we got this side, we got that, and like now we know. We're just able to build that kind of in our head, and that's what it gives me. It gives me like someone who's like building in Minecraft.
Yeah,
like that.
Definitely.
Like a map, right?
Yep. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And what I love about the work we're doing, and kind of like obviously even talking about your mom's business as a part of this and what we've gone through as entrepreneurs, is really a whole person approach of how we're working with people on their business. So it's really phasic in nature. Let's say you're somebody that for the past year you've been like, I really want, oh, your throne is down.
Thrown down.
I'm not worthy.
Bitch, if you don't give me this fucking coaster.
We didn't want to wreck mom's table with water rings. Okay, back to whole person paradigm.
Sorry, yeah.
So if you're somebody that's been like sitting there for a year, like, I think I really want to start this business, or I have this idea, it brings me a ton of joy when I do it. I want to figure out, is there something here that I want to follow? And sometimes it starts to emerge as like this parallel path. So let's say you're plugged in full time somewhere. It looks great on paper. You might still be actively enjoying that job. It doesn't have to be like you don't like it anymore, but this other thing starts to kind of come into play and you might not know what to do with it. So somebody in that phase, like we're still working with people in that phase all the way through to like that maturated state, phase 4 of like the business is launched, you need a brand, you need a website, all of like those tangible things that bring it into form. But a lot of it is mindset work to start. What's coming up for you around, I had a friend of mine who said like, recently, I don't know why it's so hard for me to place a bet on myself. And it was such an interesting topic and conversation that emerged, because in that moment, I had to have her kind of like zoom out a little bit. And if she saw her and the move she was making and she was to place a bet on her, would she? And it was like, yes, because she's a boss. Like she knows what she's doing. And she absolutely will probably be on her own one day, because the free market pays really well for that level of skill. So I find that a lot of it is the mental part.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think about my start when I kind of first started in my entrepreneurship journey. And there was this side of, I didn't know, but I knew I couldn't stay. And then also this side of like, I have to build this like alter ego almost.
Yeah.
So that it's not Gina doing it. It's like me seeing myself as that person that I wanted to be. Because as you know, I mean, we've talked about this. When I was coming out of the police department, I was a totally different person.
Yeah.
Like I was hardened. I was completely just like, I didn't even know who I was. If you were to ask Gina who she was at that time, I would have started out with, my name is Gina and I'm a police officer. Yeah. And that is the biggest thing that I hear people do, is they identify as their careers, which is you're not. Like, that is something that we do while we're here, but you are not I was not a police officer. Like, that's not how I should have ever described myself. And I feel like stripping that identity from me, I was like, I don't know who I am now.
Right.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And the beautiful part in that, I can see it now, was that I was able to build whatever I wanted that to be.
Yes. Yeah. Because sometimes stripping that away, there's a rawness to that can really create, to me, it felt, because I had a very similar experience where it almost became the definition of a bit of an identity crisis for me, because I started to really see all the ways I needed to be and all the ways I needed to show up in order to not only survive in the environment, but thrive and be promoted and be in this space. And I did my best to remain as authentic as possible in that. But when you take the title away and you really just sit with, what does it mean to ask the question, who am I, without this title? Like, if you woke up tomorrow and that title was gone, that job was gone for whatever reason, there you are sitting with yourself. All of that stuff kind of comes flooding in pretty quick.
Yeah.
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 And it can feel like a tidal wave.
It sure does. And it sure did. I mean, and that's like an immediate strip, right? Like, once you go from police officer to civilian, it's kind of like you get some of that, like, that power ripped away from
I was going to say, did you feel like you were on the other side?
I did. And I never felt like I was ever like better than anyone or like had power over anyone. But there is a significant like power that's associated with law enforcement. It's like, you know, they call it a brotherhood and things like that for a reason. And then when you're out of it, like, you don't have those like benefits anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
So like the, you know, like the brotherhood.
No one's getting a little, and also no one's getting a little scared when they look in the rearview mirror and you're behind them.
No, and it's funny because I always get so terrified anytime I see a cop car. Yeah. And that's part of like my trauma going through it. But like, even when I was a cop, I would get like so scared of seeing like other cops. I'm like, if I get pulled over, and I'm just like, I don't know why it's always been like that. Again, I think it's part of like my PTSD and trauma from that. Yeah. But that just kind of all got like stripped away, and it was immediate, because as soon as you hand in your uniform, it's not like a slow burn. It's like you leave, and then
like your avatar just got turned over.
That's a very good explanation of it, because I just feel like you switch suits like immediately. You hand in your uniform, you hand in your badges. What you had is like maybe a little bit of you know, oh, I can get away with or whatever, and not like I'm not talking anything bad, but like. Yeah, it's just
that's a paradigm shift in and of itself. Yeah.
It's just like, oh, even some of the discounts that you used to get, you're like, oh yeah, like I'm law enforcement. And you kind of like had a little bit, like I had a lot of pride in that. Yeah. And so when that got stripped away, it wasn't about the power for me. It was about like that protective lens and like the pride of, I went through this, I got through it. I'm protecting people. Like I had just this bigger kind of shell that I had to step out of. Yeah. And for me, it was really like coming out of it, and I just didn't know who Gina was. Like I had went through a really bad breakup. With like the person that I thought I was going to marry. And then like I left law enforcement. So I had this entire shakeup of my entire life. And then a little while after, like COVID had started, and it was just kind of, and that was when I started like breaking down. Yeah. It was a lot. Of course, now retrospectively looking back, like I'm so glad everything happened, because that was not Gina. But it was a very intense realization of like, you make who you are, and you make your reality. Yeah.
And if it's not like ultimately aligned with what you're really, like who you really are, then the storm will always come to clear the path. And sometimes, particularly in those maybe formative years where you're still trying to figure out what you want to do, how you want to do it, and what the things that you just talked about are so transferable, because a lot of that is like the benefits on paper could look really good, right? And our logical mind likes to look at those things and say, okay, there's some benefits here. Then before you know it, it can maybe become like, okay, maybe I'm rationalizing or justifying why I'm staying. And sometimes it's more so like, okay, I wanted to prove to myself I could do this thing, and I did it. Now what? Like, is it really going to last? Is it something that I still want to do? And those big jumps and those big moments can be the aftermath of that storm, of that decision.
And for me too, I knew in the academy that I didn't want to do it. But for me, I was like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to get through it. And then if I still don't like it, then I'll leave. Mm-hmm. But I had a really, really bad Lyme flare up in the academy. And I actually had to take a day off because I was so sick to my stomach. I was vomiting, like the whole shebang. Couldn't move, basically like paralyzed. My instructors showed up at my door when I was in the academy, and they were like, we have to make sure you're okay. I was like, yeah, I'm fine. But like, I am so sick. Like, I'm sorry, but I have to, but they smoked my entire academy class because I was absent. And like, that was the culture that I was going into. It's unlimited sick time, but you're not calling out sick.
Yeah.
It's, you know, we have these benefits, but you can't use them.
Right.
It's, you know, so, and for me, I always wanted to prove that I could do something. I had a very close call with leaving, but I knew that I would regret because the unknown is so much better than finding out and knowing that's hard no.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're in that phase, so this is that mindset phase, you maybe haven't made the change yet, but what starts to happen is like those benefits that once looked and felt good, you start to realize maybe aren't benefits at all.
Yeah.
And what starts to get louder, the volume starts to get turned up on all the ways that whether it's the environment or what you're doing or whatever isn't actually working for you. And so there seems to be this space that starts to emerge. I experienced this big time where I'm now kind of wrestling with what I'm experiencing on a day-to-day basis and how does that compare to this perception that it's making my life better in some way. And for me, that's like a futures game, right? So it's like, okay, if I just stick with this for 2 or 3 more years, there's still the very practical, like there's a financial plan in place. Like one of the things in that phase that I think is important to ground the conversation around is like, what does preparedness for that change look like? I knew I was going to go out on my own eventually. I had this idea. I didn't even know that I would be here. And this is part of that conversation too, is like, I had this idea of what I thought I wanted to do full time on my own. And then I started doing it and I was like, wait a minute, I think this is like a piece of the pie, but I don't think this is the pie. And that's okay. So you can plan for this. And it's important to do that, particularly like about a year out, I was like, I have to figure out how to make this plan work for my family. I have 2 kids. I have a husband to consider here. So I actually developed a plan of what I was going to do and the financials and all these things just to create enough structure underneath it that it felt like I was still responsible in some way for what was going to potentially be on the other side. But there's only so much you can prepare for what happens next.
I didn't prepare shit.
Yeah.
I cold quit. Listen, I didn't even have a job, backup plan, nothing. But it got so bad for me that I was just like, I mean, of course I don't have children. I didn't have a husband. Like I actually had to, like I was living with my mom. I did it. And I mean, of course I wouldn't give that advice to anybody that had like something that they really needed. Like if you're caring for another person, other humans.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little bit different.
Depends on the circumstance, right? Like I had a job in the past that rubbed up against my values so hard. I quit cold turkey, no backup plan. I just knew that I was literally going to like vomit every day if I kept saying yes to that reality.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's like just too painful and whatever's on the other side has got to be better than what you're experiencing right now. And that's one part of it. And so this phase, like before a change, even if it's not like starting your own business, but you've outgrown something. It doesn't serve the need anymore. It's rubbing against your values. You're in pain every day. You're like, this isn't who I am. I don't yet know who I am. That's like the universe says, say less. And things can start to really break apart. But we want to normalize that part of the conversation because I think what I sense is like when that stuff starts showing up for people and there's like maybe the identity crisis part of it, or my whole world has been ruptured and people are leaving and my job is gone and who am I in all of this, really lean into that time because that is like the huge opportunity where there might be a blank canvas in front of you that you don't see, that can also be so stark, like white and bright, that it scares you a bit because you don't realize that you're still holding the paintbrush. Like you're still there in that seat and it doesn't feel like that you are.
I think there's a reason that we had this whole like silent quitting epidemic is because people were realizing that they didn't want to do what they were doing. And I'm not going to say like that I didn't ever look for other jobs while I was on the clock for another place. But utilize your resources, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and you are too.
Listen, as soon as I knew I was done, like it started for me, and I would sometimes I would not have a backup plan, but I would at least like do it until I couldn't anymore. And then I'd be like, all right, I'll figure it out. But again, this is me in my 20s with no kids, like no, like obviously I had bills and obligations, but like nothing that I was caring for someone else's life at the time. So like I had the ability to kind of do that and pivot. But there's a reason why people are starting to, identify that they're not where they want to be. And that's why a lot of these employers are trying everything they can to make work-life balance, company culture, all these things, and which they absolutely should. Because if we're going to dedicate 8 hours a day to whatever we're doing, which I don't even know who came up with the 40-hour work week, but that's another topic.
Wasn't that the car guy? It was related to the auto industry.
Probably didn't like his family and didn't want to be.
It was definitely tied to the auto industry when we started breeding employees. Anyway.
Fuckers.
Yeah, that's a good time. But so part of the brand doula conversation is very much rooted in Gina and I both deeply understand every phase of this in a way that now is able to extract some wisdom and have some hindsight on it, so that we are really shepherding not just your ideas, but you through this process, so that you don't feel alone. But when you are in your own way, there's going to be some real talk, some loving real talk of let's reframe and work on some mindset stuff, because the version of you that's trying to emerge probably didn't have a place to fly before, and the wings might have been clipped. And so the superpower is there, but you've never really been able to fully flex it. That's really where we like to foundationally start, is giving people a place and space to fully stretch those wings and put their creative zone and genius into action. And we help kind of extract that. And when that's in that space, that's the intuitive space, the ethereal space of visioning. We are masters at taking that and translating it down into physical form and creating. And we receive that information of like the thing already exists, and we'll kind of get visions on the brand or the ideal drop in. And that's where there's a lot of ease and efficiency in how we work. And usually once we create it, it's like the client's like, that's it.
Yep.
Not that there isn't iteration here and there, but it is typically like really close to what they didn't realize they wanted, which is really cool.
Sometimes you don't know what it is that you're like seeing, but you're like, until you see it, right?
Exactly.
That's why I always say, you know what I'm going to say? The Marshall story.
What?
When you're in the line at Marshall's, you never know what the hell. You would never know that you needed this candle with a pickleball paddle in it that says,
our mugs.
Like, so when you're going down the checkout aisle, obviously everybody has to pass through there, but you will see things that you never would ever need. But then you see it and then you're like, oh my God, I could never live without that.
I didn't know I was drawn to that.
Ever know. So that's essentially what we do for businesses. We make that the checkout line.
Yep.
We're like, okay, we're going to put this. Oh, that's exactly what I was talking about. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yes. Yep.
And
that's where we start, because we're both receiving information. When somebody starts talking and they're in their flow state, we're receiving information simply off the fact that they are like tuned into their full creative power, even though usually they don't even realize it, because they'd probably be the person to say, I'm not creative at all, right? But when they start going and flowing and they feel like they have a safe, supportive place to do that, that's where all the magic lives. And we really like to hone that space and expand it into that infinite field of possibility. So the brand doula conversation is one rooted in understanding that we're shepherding not just a process, we are there walking with the person or people involved in a way that, like, when you need to do your deep breathing and your alignment of grounding, whether I mean, it is like birthing a baby. It really is. There's so much care. It might take 9 months to get that baby fully baked and ready. And you need support during that phase. The way you're nurturing yourself during that time is really important. And there's a lot of suffering and silence going on. Like that first for me, it was like that first 3 months of pregnancy where I would go to work and nobody knew. I mean, if you saw what I was ordering for lunch, you would be like, I know. Like, I remember I was working, and shout out to Andrew, he's probably not listening, but we had like a pizza eating competition and I could smoke them. He was like, whoa. I mean, I had the chops, but so anyway, the first 3 months where you have this idea and it's starting to grow and you're really excited and you're going back into your job and you're like, how do I want to put more energy into this and nobody knows it. What do I do with that? Reach out to us, because that's a big moment, and we don't want that to like die on the vine.
Yeah. And I mean, even just having a support system as you're going through this version of life, and like when you have an idea, and to just like have people who understand and who have left corporate and law enforcement, like just to have people who understand what you're going through and like helping you slowly or fastly. I don't know.
You have a whole
today.
It's the book of Gina. We got any word, a good word.
Whether you're trying to like do a slow burn leave, or whether you're like, I gotta get out like next week, like I'm out of here.
Yep.
We are able to move at whatever pace that is.
Absolutely.
And like help you do that. And we just don't ever want anybody to feel alone, or like they're going through this, or like they have to stay in a position where they feel stuck.
Yes.
Because I know what that feels like, and it's the worst feeling in the world.
Yes.
So just know that you do have a support system in us. If you do need anything, if you need to pick our brain on anything of just like what should I do? But we're here. And even if it's not us, utilize someone in your network that you can just talk to and maybe get some of those thoughts out on, out into the universe. To just talk things out. Because I don't know about you, but sometimes, like when I talk to other people, like a light bulb for me will come on that I didn't even know, or that was lying dormant. So just have those conversations with someone that you trust. And, just kind of talk about what that vision for you looks like. Talk about what that bigger picture, what if you could do anything in the world right now and money wasn't tied to it, what would you be doing?
You got to build momentum. The energy starts to pick up in that. And the cliche world and discussions around manifestation, I feel, are very rooted in energy attracting energy. And when you start talking from your place of passion and your zone of genius, like the energy responds to that. And next thing you know, the person that you needed, that you didn't know you needed, shows up, and you're able to talk about that safely. And then you walk away like, whoa, that whole hour I was really loving all of that. And I haven't felt that in so long. So the way we approach this is to really tailor what your needs are. And for you as an individual, but also let's say you are at a place and you love your job and your team needs some help. We create custom workshops to come in and activate individual energies to help create and point back to a stronger collective. That can be a team. That can be something that reverberates.
Hear my jaw?
Mine does that all the time. That was good. Has it ever done that?
No.
Mine does it all the time. So sympathy, TMJ.
That's TMJ?
No. Freak out.
Fuck.
Okay, I'm going to go.
Low key, my eye is like.
No, but you have tension. You got like jaw jacked this morning.
I didn't even get to tell my story.
She got jaw jacked from one mic. Anyways, I'm going to go with resonates. Okay. So when you are able to activate at an individual level, it also helps surround you as the leader and support not only what you need to feel like you can succeed in that, but also understanding that there always has to be energetic work being done to move the energies of the team forward so that things don't stay stuck. So whether it's building around your business, we have an extended network of resources that we're building so that we can bring in the right people to support you in those moments based on those needs.
And do me a favor, if you are like a corporation or a nonprofit or something like that, don't put your people through a sales training without even knowing how they interpret information, learn, and understand.
Yes.
Okay? Because you are just setting them up for failure. You're setting your team up for failure and not even understanding how your employees work and what they need, right? Like one of the biggest things that we did when we first met each other was, well, Lauren will go into the human design element of things, but we asked each other and learned how we interpret information and what we need, right? So if I'm overwhelmed one day, like what's my hermit mode? Like what's my hermit meter? What's my social anxiety meter? Like how long is it going to be until I'm around a crowd where I'm like, I shut down and need to go hermit mode for like 3 days in order to recoup my energy? Or just what my baseline energy is, so that I know if Lauren isn't at her baseline, like what's going on.
Yep.
Like that's why when I ask you, like I feel like you got explosive energy today. Yep. Like what's going on?
And I'll know where I'm at that day. So when we think about company culture, what happens with these cookie cutter approaches typically is what you're doing is you're fostering an environment that forces somebody to show up into an equation that the company has deemed successful. So if it's this training type, they're going to try to give every ounce of themselves, most likely, or they're going to shut down, right? And just be like a fly on the wall. And then you're like, this person isn't on the bus, right? How many times have we heard that?
Like when top
performer ends up being the loudest one in the room, but there's so much potential in that room that even the ones that are the loudest in the room might actually just be performative. And when they go home, they're drained completely and they don't know how to keep going back to these events that drain them, which we will talk about in a future episode, because there's a space between how somebody's really feeling on the inside and how they feel they need to show up in order to be seen as the top performer, or to be seen as successful in order to get a little bit more money. And it's creating a lot of anxiety and just overall unhappiness. And we'll leave it on this note. I remember having a conversation with, I think it was our CEO at the time, where I said, eventually the equation actually doesn't become how good these benefits are, because it was like the sickest benefits package. And I said, if we don't start looking at the day-to-day experience and what it feels like to come and engage with this mission, and is there a fear-based culture here, then eventually it's not the scales are going to tip so heavy that someone's like, I just can't do this. Or you're going to get the quiet quitters that say, I can't not do this because I do need all this stuff on paper, but I am not engaged. You're not going to get the best of my energy to be able to contribute to this goal of innovation that you have.
No. And before we wrap up, I have to tell you about my financial rep story, because I just think that was like another one of the most toxic environments. And I know that there's a lot of success in financial advising and planning and all that stuff, but man, it is fucking wicked out there. So I worked for a local financial advising company, and I remember every Wednesday we had our team meeting. Like all the financial reps, advisors, everybody in the company would go down to this meeting, and the leader of the company would pick on this one. He would choose a new target every time, and it was like, he'd pick
how common that is
out of the poll of people, like anybody who was purposely looking down and not making eye contact, like he would purposely pick on them. I mean, that's usually how it goes, right, for these agencies, at least in my experience. So we go there every Wednesday, and this poor kid, like I still get so traumatized over this experience, and like I'm getting a little bit of that like shakiness now. But he wore an Apple Watch, so they called him Chubbs, and he wore an Apple Watch. He was a little bit of a chunkier kid, and no, it was like
there's so many HR violations going on in the workplace. It's insane.
Yeah,
I just had to add that.
Yeah, mind you, but they're a top 10 workplaces of the year
to work.
Yeah, fuck that stuff too. He would call purposely every single Wednesday, and so he'd bring him up to the front of the room, and he'd be like, he'd have him turn on his heart rate monitor, and then he'd have him stand up in front of the room, and he'd like, what's your heart rate at now? Like purposely doing this to this poor kid and to show like everybody in the room. And I just remember
that's disgusting,
being in the room and just feeling so terrible about this whole situation. And then it's also like you're in this weird place because you're like, man, I don't want to say anything because fuck, then I'm going to get roped on. And if I say something, then like it's, you know, putting my job in jeopardy, or it's putting, you know, me in this predicament, or they're going to start picking on me, or da da da. And that was when I knew before then, but like that was when I knew like this is toxic workplace. I need to get,
it's humiliation.
Need to get out of here. And like this was just knew, obviously, like I knew it wasn't right. The fact that everybody in the room was like there, and then they're like laughing, and they're like, it's like a joke. It's like a running joke. And I'm like, this is disgusting. It's disgusting. And
so if you find yourself on the side of the target where you feel like people are intentionally turning up the heat to try to break you, because part of this is like, almost, I remember when I first started a job, I said to somebody, like I did speak up in this moment, said, am I being hazed? Like, is this some kind of ritual that you just put people through to see where they are on the totem pole of, are they going to be a threat, or are they going to get in line?
Yeah.
That is a very common thing that happens in organizations. And the tough part about this macro level best places to work is it's aggregate data. You could have some areas of the business, first and foremost, there's always going to be a level of the business that's always going to give high marks regardless of what they think. But you're going to get one area of the organization that might actually have a really strong leader and their team feels really engaged and functioning well. And another area that's like literally being abused. And even if those people rank low and feel safe to do that, it's still going to come out high. So it's like, I don't know, if you're in that position, my heart goes out to you. I know what that feels like. We also know what it feels like to be witness to when that's happening to somebody and try to figure out, if I speak up, am I going to be the target? Am I going to lose my job? It's a no-win situation.
Yeah, and I feel like when I was in that position, it was something that was so new to me. Like at that point, I'd only been there for like a month and a half, so I kind of like didn't know. But being in that environment just put me like small. Yeah. Like I didn't walk in the room like I do as Gina today and like blow up the motherfucker. Like I would go in trying to shrink and trying to not make eye contact. I just was like, I got to get through this meeting. Hopefully he doesn't call on me. Like I just want to go back and just go back to my clients and like, you know, go back to my work. Like I never not wanted, but it was a mandatory meeting. And if you didn't go, then it's like,
oh yeah, you're on a list. Yeah, I don't want to be on the list.
But I just remember any of those events, anytime that even networking events and stuff like that for them, I went into those feeling so small and like, and dimming my own light and my own self to like shrink because I was like, I don't want to be the person in the room that like people are going to and talking to because I felt that it was not my space, but I still like didn't know what to do.
You don't know what to do. And sometimes that's okay. Just pay attention to what it's bringing up for you and know that that energy either gets stored somewhere or needs an outlet so that it's not becoming this accumulation of pain that then eventually turns into stored trauma. And it's sometimes on the other end when we get spit out, we don't realize how much we were weathering a storm and how much we had to essentially continue to build stamina to try to get through it. So whatever phase you're in, we're here to support through coaching, mentoring, access to our networks, any services therein that you can think of, just reach out to us because we like to wrap support around the individual based on where you're at.
Simon!